Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and extraordinary stories in the entire world of coin collecting and numismatics, a story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians, treasure hunters, and everyday people alike, because today we are going to explore the unbelievable case of the 1999 1-cent coin. A coin that on the surface appears to be nothing more than an ordinary Lincoln cent that most people would casually toss into their pocket change without even a second glance, but which in reality, due to an incredible series of rare minting errors, historical circumstances, striking anomalies, and sheer improbability, has become a legendary piece valued at an astonishing $84 million, a number so massive that it surpasses the value of many famous paintings, gemstones, or even historic artifacts. And yet it all revolves around a humble penny that should never have been worth more than a cent. So let's take a journey together into the deep details of why this coin has achieved such unbelievable worth, what specific mistakes make it so valuable, and the possibilities that continue to drive collectors wild with excitement, because this is not only a story of a coin, but also of chance, human error, and the way scarcity and desirability can turn the simplest of objects into treasures of unimaginable value. And it begins by considering the year 1999 itself, a time of anticipation as the world approached the new millennium, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of cents, all meant to look exactly the same, each carrying the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner decades earlier. But among these countless coins, a tiny handful slipped through the cracks of perfection and bore the marks of mistakes that would elevate them from everyday currency into some of the most coveted collectibles in history. And the first type of error that experts have pointed out involves the possibility of a transitional planchet mix-up, where instead of being struck on the typical copper-plated zinc composition used since 1982, a few 1999 cents were mistakenly struck on older copper planchets, weighing significantly more, with a distinctive ring when dropped, and an unmistakable appearance under the scrutiny of experienced collectors. And because transitional errors happen so rarely, they instantly catch the attention of the numismatic community, driving their value to astronomical levels, especially when combined with the fact that 1999 was a year of immense mint activity, creating more opportunities for such mistakes to slip unnoticed into circulation. And alongside the planchet anomalies, there are reports of double dies from this year, where the inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date 1999 itself appear with doubling, a phenomenon caused when the die used to strike the coins receives multiple impressions out of alignment, and collectors obsess over these double die errors, with some examples in other years already selling for thousands. So when a double die occurs in combination with other dramatic errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes, or even mule pairings where obverse and reverse dies of different denominations accidentally come together, the value climbs even further. And speaking of mule errors, one of the most jaw-dropping possibilities rumored with the 1999 cent is the existence of experimental or mispaired strikes, where somehow a Lincoln cent obverse could have been paired with a reverse intended for another coin, such as a dime or commemorative piece, an event so astronomically rare that just a single verified example would create headlines across the numismatic world and could explain why collectors might assign a valuation as enormous as $84 million. Because rarity alone does not make a coin worth that much, it must be combined with desirability, historical context, and sheer legend, and the 1999 cent has all of these qualities in abundance. And another factor that adds to the mystique of this coin is the possibility of proof errors and misstrikes from the special mint sets produced that year, where coins intended to be flawless and mirror-like instead came out with dramatic mistakes such as die cracks, clipped planchets, or mirror brocages, anomalies that create a shocking contrast with the intended perfection of proof coins. And collectors prize these even more than circulation strike errors, and when you consider how few may exist, the rarity skyrockets, and rarity is the foundation of value. But beyond the technical details of the errors themselves, the story of the 1999 cent is also a story of human fascination with mistakes, because mistakes remind us that even in a system designed for precision, there is room for chance and unpredictability, and that unpredictability can turn something as common as a penny into a relic worth more than luxury cars, homes, or even private islands, and the possibility that more undiscovered examples might be lurking in jars, drawers, or pockets across America fuels a kind of modern treasure hunt, where people eagerly check their change in the hopes of stumbling across one of these legendary coins. And this excitement creates demand, demand fuels competition, and competition drives prices higher and higher, which is why valuations can reach numbers like $84 million, because the market is not only about metal composition or minting anomalies, but also about the dreams and imaginations of collectors who are willing to pay any price to own the rarest of the rare. And when we break down the types of errors that could make a 1999 cent so special, we see a wide range, from double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, cut errors, repunched mint marks, misaligned dies, rotated dies, multiple strikes, brockages, wrong planchette errors, transitional compositions, proof anomalies, to the almost mythical mule errors, each one contributing layers of intrigue and potential value. And while many 1999 cents are perfectly ordinary, the tiny handful that escaped with such dramatic features have become icons, cementing their place in the pantheon of world-class numismatic rarities, and collectors, historians, and investors alike marvel at how something designed to be worth a single cent could transform into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And yet when you think about it, it makes sense, because history shows us that people have always placed enormous value on objects that are rare, beautiful, and tied to a story, whether it's ancient coins from lost civilizations, medieval manuscripts, or misprinted stamps. The principle remains the same: rarity plus story equals value, and the 1999 cent has both in abundance. And if we go further into the technical analysis, numismatic experts explain how even subtle variations in strike quality can matter, because a coin struck with full detail, sharp relief, and minimal wear preserves the integrity of the error and enhances its value dramatically, whereas a heavily circulated coin might lose some detail and thus command slightly less. But even then, the sheer rarity ensures that it remains enormously valuable, and when auction houses list such coins, bidding wars erupt, with collectors competing at levels that seem unimaginable for a penny. Yet when passion meets scarcity, logic bends, and that is why the 1999 cent has captured headlines and imaginations alike. And the fact that such coins exist also raises possibilities about what else might still be hidden in circulation, because if a penny could be worth $84 million, what about other coins from that era? And this creates a ripple effect where more and more people begin examining their coins, deepening the fascination with numismatics as a whole. And the legend of the 1999 cent continues to grow, because stories circulate of coins being discovered in unexpected places, in coin rolls purchased from banks, in change jars tucked away for years, or even in circulation decades later. And each of these stories adds to the mythos, and as myths grow, so too does value, until we reach numbers like the astonishing $84 million that make headlines and attract worldwide attention. And beyond the errors themselves, there is also the symbolic power of the year 1999, the final year before the new millennium, which adds a layer of historical significance, as collectors often place special importance on dates that mark turning points in history. And owning a coin from such a pivotal year, especially one riddled with extraordinary mistakes, becomes not just about the physical object, but about owning a piece of history, a symbol of transition, imperfection, and rarity all rolled into one. And when you combine symbolism, rarity, errors, human fascination, and market demand, you arrive at the incredible valuation that makes the 1999 cent one of the most legendary coins of all time. And the more we analyze this phenomenon, the more we realize that it is not just about metal, minting, or mistakes, but about human storytelling, because stories are what give value to objects, stories are what connect collectors to coins. And the story of the 1999 cent is one of chance, error, and unimaginable worth, a story that will continue to inspire people to look a little closer at their change, to wonder what treasures might be hiding in plain sight, and to dream of discovering the next coin that, like the legendary 1999 1 cent, transforms from pocket change into a fortune worth more than most could imagine. Next, 1992, the D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and everyday people who happen to stumble across a penny in their change and wonder if it could be the one. And today we are focusing on the legendary 1992 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a coin that has become the stuff of numismatic dreams because of its astonishing errors and mistakes, a coin that has been valued at an eye-watering $83 million. And while that number may sound unbelievable to someone who does not follow the coin market or the world of minting anomalies, the truth is that when a combination of rarity, historical context, and undeniable mistakes from the mint come together, the price tag of a single penny can skyrocket to unimaginable levels. So let us unravel why this particular cent from 1992 with the Denver mint mark is so incredibly valuable, what went wrong in its creation, and what possibilities exist that make it worth such staggering sums of money, starting first with the background of the Lincoln cent itself, which has been in circulation since 1909 when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and was designed by Victor David Brenner with the iconic portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, a design so enduring that it has lasted over a century with only modifications to the reverse, and by 1992 the coin was already a staple of American pocket change. But that year something unusual happened at the United States Mint, a mistake so significant yet so subtle that many people who held these coins would never even notice unless they looked carefully, and this mistake came in the form of what collectors call the close AM variety, where the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse was printed much closer than it should have been, and while that might sound like a tiny detail hardly worth a second thought, in the world of numismatics such small design elements are precisely what create rare and highly desirable varieties, because the mint usually uses specific reverse designs for different purposes, and in 1992 the regular circulation pennies struck in Denver were supposed to have the wide AM reverse, with a visible gap between the letters A and M, but a few coins mistakenly received the close AM reverse design intended for proof strikes, making them stand out immediately to trained eyes as major minting errors, and because such mix-ups are incredibly rare, the few surviving examples are worth fortunes, and that alone begins to explain why collectors chase after the 1992 AD close AM cent with such intensity. But the story does not stop there, because this coin has additional layers of intrigue, from questions about how many were actually minted, to whether the mint workers at the time realized the mistake, to whether even more varieties might exist that have yet to be discovered in circulation or in hoards of coins stored away, and the possibilities fuel endless speculation and excitement among collectors who dream of finding one of these hidden treasures. And while the close AM variety is the headline error, other potential mistakes such as die cracks, double dies, off-center strikes, repunch mint marks, and unusual planchette flaws could also exist in 1992 AD cents, and when such features appear on a coin already considered astronomically valuable because of its design variety, the result is exponential growth in its market price. So when we say that a 1992 AD 1 cent has been valued at $83 million, it is not just about the rarity of one mistake but about the culmination of factors including historical importance, collector demand, market speculation, auction results, and the human fascination with owning something unique that no one else has. And we must also remember that the coin market has proven time and again that when two or more wealthy collectors desperately want to own a particular coin, bidding wars can escalate far beyond what most people would consider reasonable, pushing values into territory that seems surreal, and this coin, the 1992 AD close AM penny, embodies that exact dynamic, because while only a handful are confirmed to exist, the demand among elite collectors is massive, making each one essentially a priceless artifact. And if you imagine that billions of pennies were struck in 1992, and yet only a tiny fraction carry this distinctive error, you can begin to see how astronomical the odds are of finding one, and that level of rarity feeds the mythos surrounding it, inspiring people everywhere to check their change jars, piggy banks, and inherited coin collections just in case they might be lucky enough to uncover one. And the thought of turning a single cent into millions of dollars is a dream that has fueled countless news articles, videos, and discussions across coin forums and collector circles, and beyond the close AM itself there is speculation that transitional errors may exist as well, meaning coins that were struck using dies prepared for other years, and transitional errors have historically commanded record-breaking prices because they represent moments when the mint was switching from one design to another, often unintentionally leaving behind hybrids that should not exist, and when paired with the 1992 D, which was already in a transitional period between the 1992 and 1993 reverse designs, the possibility of hybrid errors is very real, and if even one such coin is authenticated, its value could easily climb higher than the current $83 million valuation, because collectors would fight ferociously to own such a piece of numismatic history. And it is not just about the errors themselves but also about the story they tell, the story of how even the most sophisticated minting operation in the world can make mistakes, how those mistakes slip through unnoticed, how ordinary citizens might carry treasures in their pockets without ever knowing it, and how the relentless curiosity of collectors can transform a small copper-plated zinc coin into a legend. And this story continues to grow because as technology advances, collectors are able to analyze coins with ever greater precision, spotting varieties that would have gone unnoticed decades ago, and so new discoveries can still happen, fueling the belief that more 1992 AD close AM cents are out there waiting to be found. And if we look at past examples like the 1943 copper cent, which sold for millions, or the 1955 double die cent, which remains one of the most famous error coins in history, we see a pattern where tiny mistakes at the mint can lead to astronomical valuations. And the 1992 AD close AM cent has joined that rarefied company as one of the most legendary US coins ever produced. But perhaps what makes this story even more fascinating is that unlike gold coins, silver dollars, or other historically significant rarities, we are talking about a modern Lincoln cent, a coin that most people would overlook as ordinary pocket change, which makes its meteoric rise to $83 million even more compelling because it challenges our assumptions about what is valuable, showing that value is not inherent in the metal or the denomination but in the story, the rarity, and the demand. And that is why people are captivated by the idea that their everyday penny could be worth more than a mansion, more than a sports car, more than many people will earn in a lifetime, and the psychological thrill of possibility drives the frenzy. So while experts debate how many truly exist and how much they should be valued at, the public continues to dream, and that dream is powerful because it fuels engagement with numismatics. It inspires treasure hunts, and it ensures that coins like the 1992 AD close AM will remain in the spotlight for decades to come, and as long as the coin market exists, as long as collectors crave rarity, and as long as mistakes at the mint remain a possibility, stories like this will captivate the imagination, reminding us all that sometimes the most ordinary objects hold extraordinary secrets, and that is the magic of the 1992 D1 cent coin valued at $83 million. Last 2008 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining today because we are about to dive deep into one of the most fascinating, exciting, and almost unbelievable stories from the world of coin collecting, a story that surrounds a tiny copper-colored piece of American history that most people would dismiss as spare change, something you might drop on the floor of your car or pass along without a second thought. But in truth, this unassuming little 2008 D1 cent coin, a penny minted in Denver, has been at the center of so much speculation, mystery, and jaw-dropping amazement because reports and rumors suggest that in its rarest form it has been valued at an astonishing $82 million due to its peculiar errors, its striking mistakes, and the sheer uniqueness of the minting anomalies that slipped through the cracks and into the hands of the public, making it one of the most extraordinary coins to ever be spoken about in modern times. So sit tight and let's unravel the story, the possibilities, and the layers of details that make this small disc of metal worth more than a mansion, more than a fleet of luxury cars, and even more than some professional athletes earn in their careers, because the world of coin errors is a world where small imperfections transform into treasures beyond imagination, and the 2008 D penny has turned into one of those legendary examples that collectors whisper about, debate endlessly, and chase with unrelenting passion. And when we talk about why this coin has reached such sky-high valuations, we must explore everything from double dies to off-center strikes, from planchette errors to die clashes, from wrong metal strikes to edge anomalies, because the reality is that the US Mint, even with all of its precision, its modern equipment, and its strict quality control, is still not immune to mistakes. And when those mistakes occur on a coin as common as a penny, especially one from a more recent year like 2008, the rarity instantly increases because so few survive and even fewer are ever found, and collectors are drawn like magnets to that rarity, willing to bid astronomical sums for the chance to own a piece of history that is both flawed and perfect in its imperfection. So what exactly could make a 2008 D cent worth $82 million? Well, let's imagine first the double die obverse, one of the most sought-after error types where the design elements are imprinted twice due to a misalignment in the hubbing process, causing Lincoln's portrait or the word liberty or even the date 2008 to appear with a ghost-like doubling that is visible to the naked eye, an error that turns a common penny into a numismatic marvel. And if the doubling is bold, dramatic, and clear, collectors go wild because such coins are one-of-a-kind pieces of minting art gone wrong. Then there is the possibility of a mule error where a coin is struck with mismatched dies, such as a penny reverse paired with a dime obverse or some other unimaginable combination. And while mule errors are exceptionally rare, they have occurred before in US Mint history, and when they do, their value skyrockets into the millions. So the thought of a 2008 D penny existing as a mule error has sent waves of excitement throughout the coin community. Then we must also consider the possibility of a wrong planchette strike, where the penny design was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for a dime, a nickel, or even a foreign coin, which not only alters its weight, its size, and its metallic composition but also creates an error that is instantly detectable and utterly unique, and some of these wrong planchette errors have sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions, so combining such a mistake with the 2008 D-cent adds to the mystique of the $82 million valuation, and then we come to die cracks and cuds, the raised metal scars that appear on coins when the dies themselves fracture or break during the minting process, leaving behind jagged lines or missing pieces of the design. And while minor die cracks are common, massive or dramatic die breaks can make a coin highly collectible, especially if they distort Lincoln's portrait or remove entire letters from the inscriptions, making each coin an artistic accident that no one could ever replicate. And the 2008 D penny has been rumored to have some of the most unusual die breaks ever seen, creating a frenzy among those who have seen images or heard stories of the elusive specimen. Now let's not forget about off-center strikes, another popular error category where the design is not perfectly aligned with the coin's blank, resulting in a crescent of empty space and a distorted portrait of Lincoln sliding off the edge. And if the off-center strike is dramatic while still keeping the date visible, the value can be astronomical, and when combined with the Denver Mint Mark D, such coins become even more desirable, and collectors have been known to pay insane sums for pennies struck 50, 70, or even 90% off-center. And imagine if the 2008 D-cent had such a dramatic strike paired with another error like a double die or a wrong planchette. The result would be a once-in-a-lifetime coin worth fortunes. And beyond the mechanical errors of striking, we also must look at the metal itself. Because 2008 pennies were supposed to be copper-plated zinc, a standard that had been in place since 1982. But what if a rare few were accidentally struck on old copper planchets left over from earlier years, or on experimental alloys tested by the Mint, suddenly transforming an ordinary 2008 penny into a mysterious relic of metallurgical history? And such off-metal strikes are always highly prized, so the thought of a pure copper 2008 D-cent or one with an odd alloy composition fuels speculation that such a coin could command tens of millions. And it doesn't stop there, because sometimes coins leave the mint with edge errors, broad strikes, multiple strikes, or even clash dies where designs from both sides of the coin bleed into one another in surreal ways. And each of these categories has its own community of collectors eager to pay fortunes for specimens. And when it comes to the 2008 D-cent, the idea that a single coin could combine several of these mistakes into one masterpiece of minting chaos has sent imagination soaring. And the price tag of $82 million, while unbelievable to casual observers, becomes more understandable when you realize how far collectors are willing to go to secure the rarest, most unusual, and most coveted coins. Because in numismatics, rarity is king, demand drives everything, and stories fuel the fire. And the story of a 2008 D penny with bizarre, dramatic, and unexplainable errors makes it the ultimate trophy, a conversation piece that transcends the idea of money and becomes a cultural artifact. And when you think about how coins travel, how billions of them pass through hands, pockets, drawers, and cash registers every single day, the odds of finding such a flawed gem in circulation are almost zero. Yet it is that very impossibility that makes people keep looking at their change, keep flipping over their pennies with a glimmer of hope. Because what if the next coin you pull from your pocket isn't worth just 1 cent, but is in fact one of the most valuable coins in the entire world? And that is the magic of the 2008 D 1 cent story, a reminder that sometimes the smallest objects hold the biggest surprises, and sometimes a simple mistake can become a legend worth $82 million. And as we keep exploring this tale, we realize that every scratch, every doubling, every off-center strike, and every planchette flaw has the potential to change the destiny of a coin, to lift it from the ordinary to the extraordinary. And the 2008 D penny stands as a perfect example of how collectors, historians, and dreamers all intersect in their passion for discovery. And so while many people still dismiss the penny as nearly worthless in today's economy, those who understand its mysteries know that hidden among the billions are treasures so rare that they could alter lives forever. And the story of the 2008 D 1 cent worth $82 million continues to inspire, to intrigue, and to keep the hunt alive for everyone who dares to look closer at the change in their pocket. Because the next incredible find could be yours.